The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a wonderful Tuesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. I'm going to go ahead and put them in the top right-hand corner of the screen so you know where to go. If you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, it's nowhere else other than Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. They go the extra mile for you so you don't have to. And we try to do the same here on this show every single day. And we have a lot to talk about. We haven't been on the show since, Thursday. So we do have a lot to discuss and a lot to go over. Had to miss yesterday because I was covering Little League softball, the state championships down there at the Fields of Dreams. So, it's a little bit more of a hiatus than we're used to, which means we have a lot of catching up to do on today's episode of Running Point. But we also have another segment of our summer series, Living the Dream, talking to softball players who have gotten to where they want to go. So you at home, you players that are out there in the YSN family that want to get to where they got, you can listen to them, learn from their journeys, take some notes, and just hear from the people that have made their dreams reality, so you know how to make your dreams reality. That's the whole goal of this segment that we're going to do for the rest of the summer until we get into our fall sports previews, which will probably be about the second week of August. Maybe volleyball tryout should be the first week of August. So we'll probably start doing volleyball, soccer, football previews with Coaches Corners towards the second week of August. That's kind of my goal. Got to reach out to these coaches and get a timeline of when they want to do their interviews. But usually we just do it second week, third week of August, that kind of span. I know volleyball starts a little bit earlier than football, so we'll try to get volleyball taken care of before the start of their season. We'll get as many teams and coaches as we possibly can, of course, and we'll have some fun with that. But in between that and then, we're filling up the rest of the summer with, like I said, these Living the Dream segments of this series that we're doing throughout the month of July, which have been really fun so far. We continue today, by the way, with YSU's own Sarah Fessler, I believe, got a fact check, but I believe the first YSU softball player to sign a professional contract with the Texas Monarchs. She's down there playing with some really big names. And also, by the way, the person that drafted her and got her down there, Alex Powers, who played and had a wonderful career at Florida State and is doing a lot of good things for professional softball in an executive role now. So Sarah Fessler from YSU living out her dream to become a professional softball player. She's going to be the one that you're going to hear from today on Running Point a little bit later. But we do have, like I said, a lot to kind of go over. We will start with the Little League softball tournament. Back on Thursday when we signed off, we only had one night in. So a lot of stuff happened between now and then. We will fast forward in time and just tell you, hey, these are the teams that got to the championship, and tell you, no shocker to anybody that Wheelersburg has a good program in 10U softball because, hey, look at what their varsity team's doing. They've won 2 of the last 3 state championships in Division III. I think they've won 5 overall, if I'm not mistaken, as a program. right up there in the list of premier softball programs in the state of Ohio. So no shocker that Wheelersburg has a really good fundamental foundation to their program in the 10U level. They made it through the losers bracket. They got into the championship series on Monday. And in game one, remember, because they came out of the losers bracket, they had to beat Canfield not once but twice in one day, a doubleheader, a tall task to ask of anyone. But they came up on the first game Monday. Wheelersburg got the win in 10U. It was a pretty impressive game from Wheelersburg. Reese Grimes, who had pitched her whole tournament for Wheelersburg, pitched every inning up to that game and pitched every inning in this game. I am so impressed with her as a 10-year-old. I mean, Reese Grimes, if you're out there, if you're watching from Wheelersburg, my hat goes off to you, young lady. I can't wait to see what you do in your future. She has all the tools there that you want to see out of a 10-year-old pitcher to get where you want to go. Their velocity is right where you want it for a 10-year-old. She's working both sides of the plate. She has pretty good command of her spin. Everything that you want to see out of a 10-year-old pitcher, you're starting to see. And if she continues that path and continues growing, I'm excited to see what she does in the 12U and going into the 12U, because that's a little bit of a step up. You're pitching from further away. That means your spin has to be better. Your velocity has to be a little bit better. So I'm excited to see what she does going forward. I'm pretty sure she'll be going into 12U next year, if I'm not mistaken, because she was on the 10U team last year that lost to Boardman in the championship in 10U. So I imagine that she's probably 10 this year, going to 11. Can't confirm that, of course. But I think we might be able to see her in the 12U side of things next year, which should be exciting. And that should go for most of this team, because they're almost all returning from last year's 10U team that went to the state final and dropped it to Boardman. So this Wheelersburg team is really exciting. It was fun to cover them all weekend, but they did win game one against Canfield on Monday. First game of the day for either side. 12U didn't start till noon, so this was bright and early, 10 a.m. start. Reese Grimes threw a no-hitter in a 2-0 victory for Wheelersburg. Their offense scored 2 runs in the first, and that was all that Reese Grimes needed. Bryn Williams came up with the big 2 RBI base hit. A couple of kind of funky ways to get on base there. They weren't hard hit balls, and then Bryn Williams came up with a solid single to score 2. I want to give a shout out though to Gabby Stack, who started in the circle for Canfield. She went really well. I mean, after giving up those 2 runs, she kept Wheelersburg consistently down. She struck out 11, gave up 2 runs over 6 innings, and only 1 walk. That's a good strikeout to walk ratio, 11-1, especially once again, when you're 10 years old, you expect the command to be a little bit shaky at times. Those walks could be elevated. Not today. Gabby Stack really threw well. Unfortunately for her, Reese Grimes just threw a little bit better, throwing that no-hitter and getting Wheelersburg to the if necessary game. So how that works is, unlike districts where you'll win once and then you have to come back the next day and win again, districts were spread out championship in 2 days. This one spread out in 1 day. So Wheelersburg had to regroup 30 minutes, come back on the field, and beat Canfield again. And they had a chance. I mean, this second game we're going to talk about, game 2, winner take all, it was exactly what you want out of that kind of atmosphere. Both teams scored in the first inning. It was 1-1 after 4. And then you kind of felt like Reese Grimes, who pitched every inning and then started that game, pitched the first 4. She started to just run out a little bit of juice, and you could tell the command was starting to shake a little bit, which is very understandable. I mean, that's a workhorse performance. Canfield was able to score 4 runs in that inning to take the 5-1 lead. They held on to it. Wheelersburg did fight in the bottom of the 5th. I had a chance to go down from the 12U game and watch the last inning and a half or so, and Wheelersburg was putting runners on in that 5th. They tried to come back, but I'll tell you what, the 1-2 punch for Canfield was the difference. They didn't have to go to the same pitcher in the doubleheader. They went from Gabby Stack, and then they threw Lily Barber, who we saw in the districts and we saw going into this game really good pitcher in her own right. Gabby Stack pitched well. Lily Barber also pitched really well. Gave up just that one run on 4 hits over 6 innings. She struck out 9, walked 3. So not a bad day at all. I still would take a 9-3 strikeout to walk ratio any day. That is what, 1-3, right? If you go to the least common denominator there. So one out of every 3 for every 1, 3-1 strikeout to walk ratio. You got to reverse that fraction. I haven't done math, like head math, in a long time, so you got to give me a break. I'm a Georgia Tech fan. I was never a Georgia Tech student. All right, math is not my strong suit. 3-1 strikeout to walk ratio. That's good. That's really good. And once again, she pitched really well. Remember, she was the one that pitched them to a district championship too, in those 2 games that they won over Austintown to get to this point. Like I said, Grimes started again for Wheelersburg, pitched well for about 4 innings, and then you could just tell that the gas was running on empty. Canfield took advantage, scored the 5 runs. Canfield wins 5-1, the final score, and they win the state championship. And that's it for 10U. There's no regionals for 10U. You win the state championship, you're done. So Canfield has reached the top of the mountain, and we want to congratulate them on doing so. It was a great team to cover. We covered them for 2 weeks. Saw a lot of really good things. I was the most impressed. Like the player that stuck out the most to me, outside of the pitching, because pitching was just phenomenal all the 2 weeks. I really like this Michaela Lang, the catcher and the really good hitter. I think she hit third most of the day, most of the time. What a great young player. I really enjoyed watching her behind the plate. She threw out a couple of base runners in that first game. Really fun, really good player, really good catcher, set up in the right spots, high level framing. I saw some framing there that I love to see out of a 10-year-old catcher. Really enjoyed watching her play, and I can't wait to see her develop into a good player. I should say better player. She's already a good player. Can't wait to see her develop into a better player as the years goes on and she transitions into the 12U in a couple of years as well. So Canfield, once again, congratulations to all of you on a great tournament, sweeping your way to a state championship, but then coming back from the brink in districts just to get there. What a fun ride it was covering you for 2 weeks, and we can't wait to see you back again next year at the Field of Dreams. So now we go from that to the 12U state championship. This was between Austintown and Hamilton. I think a lot of people were a little bit surprised Hamilton got to the championship yesterday by a great performance, beating North Little League by the final score of 8-0 in yesterday's, I should say Sunday's, elimination game. They come into today, though. Yesterday, though, they knew it was going to be a really tough mountain to climb against this Austintown team that went to the World Series last year and returned a ton of those players. And it was a tough mountain. Austintown wins 18-0, your final score after 4 innings. I will say, though, one of the things that I enjoyed with Hamilton, the start was right there. They did not come out intimidated. They did not come out nervous. I felt like the first inning was right there. They went 1-2-3. Austintown went 1-2-3 in the first, and they're hitting. It's Mila Hamley. You're going to take a minute to get to that, but their defense was playing well, and then a couple of runs score in the second, but they look like they're going to get out of it. It's bases loaded, 2 outs, 2 runs in. You feel like if they can just get this out, then they can go into the third with just a 2-0 deficit, trying to stay in this game, trying to keep them. But props to Austintown, props to Peyton Severn for coming up towards the bottom of the order and just rocking a bases clearing base hit to score 3 runs. And it felt like from that point on, the sails were just gone from Hamilton. That broke the back, whatever metaphor you want to use. Everything that Hamilton had going for them was gone when they were down 5-0. Because against Mila Hamley, let's be honest, 5-0 feels like 15-0 at that point. And that's exactly how Mila Hamley pitched the rest of the game. She pitched all but the last one. She pitched 3, gave up no hits, just one hit batter, one base runner, and she's electric, right? But then they brought in Mike Sell to relieve her and pitch the last inning. She looked really good as well. Everyone in Austintown looked good, right? There was nothing there. They just took care of business, and they're going on to regionals in, I think the official city is Whitehill, but it's pretty much Indianapolis. I believe that starts on Sunday, so the 21st is when that regional will start, and they move on to being broadcasted by ESPN Plus, just like last year, and they're one tournament win away from getting back to the Little League World Series down in Greenville. So exciting time for Austintown. We're going to try to be talking to the team this week as well, try to get them some interviews before they head down to regionals. Already talked to Matt Hamley, the head coach of Austintown. We had great fun covering them last year on their trip to regionals and then covering them even more when they went to the World Series. So this is not the end of hearing from Austintown on YSN, even though we can't follow them physically and do broadcasts in Indianapolis. We will be covering Austintown. We're going to be trying to do as many interviews as possible, and we'll definitely have stories and recaps from their regional games next week as well. So we are very excited for this Austintown team. The way they're playing right now, they just look so locked in. They could go down and win the Little League World Series. I would not be shocked. I think they have every piece there for them. I think Mila Hamley grew a lot from last year's experience. Once she got to that level, she faced hitters that they weren't phased by the speed. They'd seen that kind of before. They hit her a little bit. Not like a ton. It's not like she got rocked in the Little League World Series. But now she knows, like, okay, I'm not unhittable. I have to lock in and do my job. And she seems like a much more dynamic, I would say, pitcher. She is not relying completely on her velocity every single time out there, which I think is easy to fall into the trap of when you're young and you're pitching as fast as she is, to fall in love with that velo and just keep hammering. And then all of a sudden you hit hitters that can catch up to it, which is every level, right? Not just when you're 12 years old, but when you're going from middle school to high school and you have velocity that's dominating in the 13, 14U, and all of a sudden here you are against 18-year-olds that have seen that velocity. They start hitting you. And then when you go from high school to college, I have 65 miles an hour pitch. Like, that's blowing people away. I'm good with that. And then all of a sudden you get into college and all these players, they've seen 65. They're not fazed by it at all. They've seen 70 in college. So every level you have to kind of learn to not completely rely on your velocity if you're a velo pitcher. And I think watching Mila Hamley, I didn't get to watch her a ton because we kind of split the 12U. I was doing 10U. DJ did a lot of the 12U. But watching her yesterday and then doing the district game as well, the district championship game, both those times I saw her, it was velo, yes, but then I saw off speeds, I saw screwballs, I saw pitches that are moving a lot better than they did last year. And they moved pretty good last year. Now she's taking the next step. So I know that she's developing well. She's being coached well, and the pitch calling is also really good as well. So I like what I'm seeing. from Austintown. They head on to regionals again this week. That starts on the 21st. They win the state championship over Hamilton, 18-0. Before I wrap up my recap of the state championships, I want to give props to this Hamilton team because they are the first Hamilton softball program to go down into state. They're the first team that the program has been able to send. 12U and 10U both got to state this year, which is big for that program. That baseball program runs the show, and they should. They're a very good baseball program. They've been to like 30-plus state championships in a row for baseball. They are cream of the crop when it comes to Little League in Ohio down there in Hamilton. So their softball team taking a step in the right direction is really good to see for softball fans. That, hey, we're going to raise the bar. We're going to get to that level eventually. It might take them 30 years to get to baseball's level with what they're doing. They might get to baseball's level by the time I'm, 60. But at the same time, you got to take the first step. You got to be able to say, hey, we're going to go to state. We're going to compete in state. 12U get into the state championship. That is a feat in their own right. The first trip down there and you go all the way to the championship. You work your way out of the losers bracket. You beat a team that is probably, the quote unquote favorite to get out of the losers bracket with the way North played on Saturday, with a 2-0 shutout pitcher's duel victory. You beat them 2-0. and then you're sitting pretty. I think there's a lot of things going right for Hamilton, and they'll be back next year, and I can't wait to see what that program continues to do to grow their talent and keep getting teams back to state. I love when programs like that take their first steps into greatness. And Hamilton, once again, 10U, I got to see their 10U team and their 12U team. A pleasure to cover, a pleasure to be there at YSN. And I also want to give a shout out to everyone that watched from outside the YSN family during this Little League tournament. Said it before on the broadcast, but if you're representing a school like Wheelersburg, like Hamilton, like Olentangy, whatever it may be, I know North is kind of like Stowe Monroe Falls. If you're out there and you liked what you saw all week from YSN's coverage, their broadcast, that is open to your high schools. We do not turn high schools away. It is free to the school. Make sure that your administration reaches out to YSN. We'd love to talk about what it's going to take to get your high school as a member of the YSN family. We have no restrictions on, we're located in Youngstown, but we're kind of covering Pepper Pike Orange, which is, so that we have no barriers on how far we can go. It's just, do you have someone there that'll work for YSN, and can we get them equipment? That's kind of the two things that we need, which are getting equipment there pretty easy. Just having someone in the community that wants to be the YSN representative, thumbs up, you're good to go. You're greenlit. So every athlete, every sport gets covered if you're a member of the YSN family. And we love for those communities that got a little bit of taste of what YSN is about this week to hop on board and be new members of the YSN community. We'd love to have you. And if you're in that boat, once again, you can reach out to YSN on any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X now, I guess you could call it, or you can email info@ysnlive.com. Get that conversation started. Get the ball rolling so you can learn how to be a YSN team and be a part of the YSN family. Can't wait for you guys to come on board. Let's go. Let's get Wheelersburg on the YSN family. They're trying for a little redemption in the softball world as they got stunned in the tournament this year. And next year that softball team's going to be having their own revenge tour. Canfield had one this year for us on the YSN family. I think Wheelersburg's going to have a revenge tour this year. They felt like they were bound for 3 state championships in a row. They got stunned, and now they have to come back and do it all again. So Wheelersburg, come on board. Let's go. Let's get you a part of the YSN family. Once again, we love to have you, and I loved having the Little League coverage this week. And I wish everyone the best of luck going forward and whatever you're doing, and especially Austintown going to the regionals in Indianapolis next week. Once again, we will have coverage of that with stories, recaps, interviews, all that fun stuff coming up. We never ever slump when it comes to coverage of local people doing amazing things, or I should say YSN family people, because local is such a restrictive term. We cover Orange, we cover Louisville, we cover you cover Hoban. We are not hyper local. So anyone in the YSN family is doing great things, we love to cover them, and we will continue covering Austintown 12U through their run to regionals. Can't wait for that. As for us right now on the show, we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, it's our next segment of Living the Dream. You'll hear from former YSU Penguin and current professional softball player with the Texas Monarchs, Sarah Fessler. That's coming up next on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
I'm on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun. It all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
Welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Anthony Hartwig with you. We thank you so much for tuning in today. And now we're going to continue our segment, or I should say our series of Living the Dream, and a newest segment with YSU's Sarah Fessler, that is now playing professionally as a member of the Texas Monarchs in the WPF. A great conversation with her. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you learn from it, because that's what this series is about. Anthony Hartwig here with another segment of what we are calling Living the Dream here on YSN. We are joined by someone that Youngstown State fans probably pretty familiar with, especially the last 2 seasons of softball. Sarah Fessler joins us, now a professional softball player, living it up in the WPF in Austin, Texas. Sarah, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
All these great things are happening, but we want to start with the start of your journey, going back into your memory banks and talking about picking up softball and when you fell in love with it and how you got into the sport.
So basically, I mean, if we're going to throw it all the way back, we're going to go back to my dad playing slow pitch softball, and he always was bringing me to his games. And all I wanted to do after that was be like, Dad, let's go outside, let's play catch. And I'm sure he had just about had it. So he's like, we need to get her on a team for sure. And then honestly, just playing travel ball through the summer, a couple of different teams throughout Northeast Ohio, a lot of tournament ball down in Columbus. And I kept kind of local tournaments. So I wasn't going anywhere crazy. And when I started my college journey, I committed to Ursuline College, which is a Division II in Cleveland. So again, staying close to home. And then did 3 years. So I had my COVID year, my freshman year, and then did 3 years at Ursuline. Ended up wanting to play at the next level because I knew that eventually I did want to play at the professional level if I was given the opportunity. So Division I was where I wanted to be at for that. And again, still wanted to stay close to home, wanted a great experience for not only my academic goals, but also softball and just getting to see something different besides Cleveland. So contacted Brian Campbell and Sarah Zillis, my 2 head coaches. And, we got on campus, took a tour, and the rest honestly was history. It was really cool to get on a campus where we are the only school probably in the United States that are Penguins. But that was awesome. And I'll say till literally the day I die, go Gwins. It's so fun to say that. So yeah, honestly, that's my little softball journey as far as where I come from, where I was at. So yeah.
When we talk about the start of it and you getting into it, what were some things that led you to taking it from this is softball for fun, and then all of a sudden this is softball that I wanted to dive into, spend time with, and get myself into a college for softball?
So since I was young, I played a lot of different sports. I played volleyball, basketball, obviously softball. And then there came a time in high school where it was so you kind of have to commit to one of these sports because, I just thought, I want to go to college. I'm a first gen. So I was I definitely want to hone in on my craft. So I said, okay, let's do softball. And honestly, after that, I just put in the work. I was always dragging my dad places for practices. I can't even imagine now looking at it from a giving lessons standpoint, or even being a coach for a travel ball team, how many hours parents themselves put in is insane. But regardless, definitely when I was probably going into middle school, I thought, okay, yeah, no, I'm ready to go college route. I want to play at the next level. And honestly, ever since that, I was just like, how can I reach, my highest potential?
This class of 24 that you're in, the recruiting is a little bit different than the kids that are going through it now. I mean, you were able to, if you wanted to, commit at a much earlier age than the kids that can now. So, going into middle school, going to high school, what was it like navigating the recruitment waters at even that early of an age?
Yeah, so me and my dad actually talk about this all the time. I really didn't have the access to recruiting organizations, much like a lot of the girls maybe that went bigger, played at an SEC school, an ACC school. I really stayed local, and I had great like coaches along the way that helps me, basically network with me. My recruiting process didn't start till probably like end of my sophomore year in high school. So, when junior year happened, that's when everyone was, I think that was the last year that people could commit really early, like 8 years old type of thing. I could be wrong, but that's probably around the time. And my junior year in November, after a couple schools had seen me throughout the summer, I decided to commit to Ursuline. And it was a really easy process for me. Obviously, like I said, didn't have a ton of options. Because again, like first gen, my dad didn't know anything about college. Like he's super successful himself in his career, but this is just like a totally new waters for me and my family. But we made the best of it, and going the Division II route was again like the best experience for myself as a player, because I knew that coming in, like I wanted to go somewhere I was going to play and I was going to get a good experience academically too. So that was the best route for me. And then I was able to move up because I built my skills at the Division II level. I became a starter. I had the classes and basically the experience of what it's like to be a college athlete. Yeah.
So you go from high school to college and you make that commitment. What was it about Ursuline that made you want to call that home? What was it that made you fall in love with that particular program?
Ursuline's a very small school. I came from a high school that was private and all girls school, and Ursuline was much less the same. Funny enough, it's a nursing school predominantly, but they had a great business program, and it was an all girls campus. It was close to home, 30 minutes, and their team was in the GMAC, so it was like Walsh University, Tiffin, Findlay, a great like Ohio, Indiana region type of schools. And the campus itself was in a great area, and I was like, I can be home but also away from home at the same time, so it was a perfect distance. And the coaching staff was great. I was coached under Susan Woodford, and she just kind of held my hand along the way, really put me into this leadership role on the team that was it was different for me. Leading in high school is a lot different than leading in college, especially coming in as a freshman. Being a starter, you have to really like gel with the girls quickly if you're going to be in that starting nine. And the team itself, we bonded very well. So overall, those 3 years there, I would do it all over again.
What was your welcome to college softball moment where you realized very quickly that you weren't in high school anymore and it was just it was a different thing, right?
So that is so funny. And I just get chills thinking about this. My first ever weekend out. So Ursuline always traveled to the Tampa, Lakeland, Florida area for our preseason. And I remember all of us as freshmen were standing in the dugout, and our coach is like, all right, we need a pinch hitter. And I'm like, okay, like who's she gonna call on? She calls on me. And I get up there in Tampa University. They always go to regionals. They're a very good, like regionally ranked team. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my God, okay. So this little baby freshman, has probably never lifted weights before. And like, it's crazy to think about. I get up to bat and I get my first single through the 5-6 hole. And I'm like, wow. And I'm shaking on first base. And my assistant coach is like, you did great. I was like, I know, but this is crazy. Like, this is not high school anymore.
First at bat, first hit. That's how you do it, right?
I'm saying there's no other way to do it. I'm saying. And then, after that entire tournament, I ended up getting into the lineup, and the rest is history. So that was great. It was great for me.
College, I'm sure, brought also some more failure than you were used to in high school. I know when you hit like 700 as a career in high school, what kind of things did you do to deal with a little like the raise of the level in college and trying to understand that you're probably not going to go there and hit 700? You're going to have to deal with some more failure than you're used to. How did you handle all that?
So yeah, nothing like high school for sure. And it's hard too because people are scouting you. They're looking at past games once you start actually playing in the conference and everything. Um, it was a lot of mental game. And I didn't, obviously I'm playing softball and I'm having fun, but the mental aspect is so important. So I started working with sports psychs and just kind of playing loose, always playing loose, kind of going back to like basics. If I was not like getting the best at bats, or if I'm not getting on every time, going up there and pretending I'm hitting front toss is seriously like what I would tell myself. And I had the best junior year of my life at Ursuline because that's literally my mindset. And obviously, I couldn't do that every year. Um, I just didn't really think too much into stats because if I did, I knew that that would affect my playing. It would make me think too much.
How strong of a mental player do you think you were going into college? Do you think you were already kind of set in the mental aspect that you needed, or do you think when you started college, like you had to really change your mental approach to deal with, like you said, the mental game of college softball?
I definitely think that I had to change my approach. I didn't think I really had any approach. I didn't really know anything about it. I showed up to the field and I was like, okay, let's play. And that's never a bad way to play. But that's also when I was seeing success of batting 700 in high school. So I definitely had to work on that and not overthink it. So yes, the mental game aspect is so important. You know, you really want to be ready to encounter failure, or, you know, if you don't put a bunt down in a really big situation, like being able to be like, hey, it's okay. Like, you're going to get the next one. I just think that don't overthink it because sometimes that could also hurt you if there's too much mental preparation. Sometimes you just got to put on your cleats and play.
Senior year comes around, you get the chance to go to YSU. You have 2 years of eligibility. You spend 2 years here in Youngstown. Talk about first the decision to go to Youngstown State and how that came about and why you picked YSU and Brian Campbell and this program, and then what it was like to kind of transition from D2 to D1, and what are the changes that you saw in that softball.
So, like I said before, when I was looking to transfer, I wanted to stay close to home. And I had told myself after I started at Urson, I was like, I know that I want to play at a higher level, but I need the experience first. And so my dad was like, okay, do it. You got this. And basically, Campbell took a risk on a D2 kid as a transfer student. I mean, a lot of Division 1s, I'm not sure, like would look in the transfer portal for a Division 2 transfer. I mean, I'm not really sure, but they probably would want somebody that's already at that level. So he definitely took a chance on me. And obviously he doesn't know me, so I had to go in there and grind and work. And I ended up seeing myself in the lineup a lot throughout the fall season, but I really wasn't sure. What really like sold me on the school was the facilities. I mean, we look at Youngstown State and the Penguins like athletic program is like their Cleveland Browns from Cleveland. Like I swear to God, everyone's like roll Gwins. And I love that. I do. It's something I've never experienced before because Cleveland is such a big city. So I thought that was really cool. And not to mention their penguin fire hydrants. I thought was really funny. But back to the softball aspect, the way he runs his program, like he was pretty. Campbell told me he's pretty cut and dry. Like, you know, you just get in there and work, and we'll get you a position. I came in as a utility, and I found myself a little bit at shortstop, which is where I played at Ursula, and then it just made sense for me to play second base. I played second base when I was young, and that's where I started in the infield. So, yeah, I just kind of meshed into there, and then got into the leadoff spot, which I've pretty much batted in most of my career. So it was pretty comfortable for me.
One thing, if you follow Youngstown State softball on social media or you follow any of the players, like this team knows how to have fun. Like you guys stay loose, you guys have fun with each other. What's it like to be in a team atmosphere like that in the college level where you can get so caught up in the pressures of college and pressures of trying to go out there and succeed at that level where it's D1 and it's almost even more of a job than the other divisions are. How were you guys able to stay so loose and have so much fun with it?
Honestly, I think us being just such I don't know, an inexperienced team playing with each other. They had some girls that were successful. They were in the 2021 team. I think like one or two girls. Really, it was just me and Conchetta, fifth years, that had like 5 years of college experience. And then we had some seniors on the team, but a lot of it was our joking and like fun loving atmosphere. A lot of it had to do with like our social media presence. So we were always doing funny hashtags on our game day posts, or we're chirping in the dugout and we're yelling and we're just cheering each other on because we had such a competitive spirit. individually, that at practices we are making sure that we're getting the job done. Okay, we're making adjustments quickly, and so that it translated for us on the field when we actually like competed in games. So yeah, it was pretty easy to just mesh together and just do our thing on and off the field.
The softball cliche is it's a game of failure, right? And Youngstown State didn't get their storybook in that they can write. You can't write the results. As a senior in your last year, what was it like to kind of have to put that in a box and just say, okay, I have to take what I can from the season, even though it didn't end exactly the way we wanted to, and still take everything that I can from it, and then move on to the next chapter, which we're going to talk about here next.
Obviously we wanted to win our conference tournament. That's always our goal. But we were really happy with how we ended our season, with it being our regular season conference champions. That was our goal going into fall season even. We said, what do we want to be as a team? We want to be a family and we want to be competitive. And how are we going to get there? And weekly we would go over our coaches would ask us, okay, what's your goal for the week? How do we want to look at practice? And then when we got into season, they'd ask us the same questions, and we would check in every Monday and to see if we got there or not. And then if you said yes, great, keep working on that. If you said no, how can you fix that? And really, like those weekly check-ins, or maybe like every 2-week check-ins, that's how we were able to get the success that we wanted and get that conference ring. And we always said, we were like, it's going to be this team this year. It's going to be us. And we were excited that it was us. And we were excited to host that tournament. Because even last season, my senior season, not my 5th year season, we were just making it into the tournament. Though we didn't host, we did extremely well. And we just knew that we were going to play right off of that ending in the conference tournament into this year. So we were definitely hungry for a ring.
And now you go from that into the WPF, Women's Professional Fast Pitch, and talk about that opportunity, how it came about, and how you were able to seize it and go out there and play for the Monarchs.
So honestly, I can't even take like credit. I think this is so like the universe and God's doing, I swear. But a lot of it had to do with after season, I knew that I just wanted an opportunity. I wanted to reach somebody so that I could just play professionally. I know they're trying to build women's sports and they're trying to build a WPF league. And funny enough, I'm sitting there one day and I see that there's WPF tryouts and they're looking to draft girls on, because there was already a collegiate draft. They're looking to draft girls from a tryout because there's a couple new teams in the league. And so I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're doing it. So you basically had to apply, go to this tryout at Jackie Robinson in Vero Beach, which is basically a training facility for baseball and softball. They've built it up throughout the years. And funny enough, I've been there before for a World Series tournament with RBI. I don't know if you're familiar. It's basically like a program ran by MLB teams, and it's travel ball teams. So it's like a little league World Series, but it's RBI. And so I've been there before and I was like, okay, like it's all making a full circle here. And so we go there, it's a 2-day tryout, and I got the call from Alex Powers, and the rest is here I am. I'm in Austin for spring training and season, and it's unbelievable. But when I got here, so cool to mesh with the girls that played at different levels than me and played in different conferences. So yeah.
Talk about getting a call from Alex Powers and how cool that was. I mean, we're talking about someone that has, all the softball cachet in the world, has her own, ACC softball podcast, all the fun stuff, played it and had a great career. What was it like to get a call from her and be like, yeah, we got you?
Yeah, one, that woman is amazing and she does the most for Texas Monarchs and WPF as a whole. So kudos to her all day. And as a team, we are so grateful for her. But sitting in a hotel, waiting after a day of practice where it wasn't my best at spring training, was not my best. I'm waiting for a call from her and I get that. And I swear, I'm just like, okay, this is it. This is it. And just how exciting it was for her to say, like, Sarah, we would just love to have you. And I'm thinking Alex Powers wants me. Like, oh my gosh, like, okay, let's do this. And our coach Candace and coach, I call him Coach Gunna, but it's Tyler. They say, you're already a part of this team. It just makes sense. Because just the way that we meshed so well at spring training. So they decided to fully contract me after spring training. It was honestly surreal. And I just like was sitting there trying to be present, like I have reached every goal that I basically made for myself. And I think that that is so telling for a young athlete or a young softball player, that they make these goals for themselves, and it's like you can do it. Just literally set your mind to that and work for it.
We talk about this league and this team that you're on. The team you're on, the roster is stacked. Like the Monarchs team is stacked.
Yes.
And then the league around you is also just ridiculously stacked. What's it like to all of a sudden be in a room or be in a field where you look around and you see players that have played in the College World Series, have played at Oklahoma City, have played at the Blue Bloods of these programs, and try to pick their brain, I'm sure, try to learn everything you can from them. What's that been like for you?
You know, I've definitely realized that moving from Division 2 to Division 1, the speed of the game is different. Moving from Division 1, okay, mid-major, to now playing professionally, that is a whole different level of gameplay. The game's fast, and also we have to think about, how am I going to make adjustments when I'm playing infield? How am I going to make adjustments when I'm playing outfield? Because, you know, the time and the speed is just different. You know, you can't expect to turn a double play when you're playing at normal positions that maybe I would have in college versus now professionally. So picking brains of infielders that have played at a faster level is definitely interesting. But honestly, like, you put everybody on a pedestal, and as they should, they're great. They achieved such high things. But at the end of the day, like, we're all just playing softball. We're all playing the same game. And it's honestly, it's awesome. I would not trade this experience for the world.
Did it take any time at all to kind of, I don't want to say take them off the pedestal, but go from looking up and then, okay, we're teammates, we're good, we're in the same room, we're all, I don't need to, act like you're, a celebrity that I'm meeting for the first time anymore?
You know, I don't really think there was any thought in my mind about that. It was more so that, Alex kept reminding me, you belong, and remember that, because I come from a mid-major, I come from a Division 2 school. So just as Alex reminded me, I belong here. I put in the work just the same. It was seamless transition for sure.
Do you think transferring from D2 to D1 helped you transition again from D1 to professional?
Oh, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you be good?
Okay. Ooh, I can't hear you. That's weird.
Can you hear me now?
No, it broke out.
Let's see.
Should I leave and come back?
You can try, yeah.
Okay. That's weird.
Hearing me now?
Yes, I'm good. Sorry about that.
All good. So the last question I had before that was, what did the transition from D2 to D1, do you think it helped you ease the transition from now D1 to professional softball?
Yeah, I like to do this thing where I I want to put myself in uncomfortable situations, meaning a lot of change, and like basically elevate myself as an individual and as a player. So I'm always going through, like a lot of changes. And so once I was able to like get over the transfer process from Division 2 to Division 1, I'm like, okay, if I can do this, I can 100% adjust to the professional life, and everything that entails. Um it's just, you got to set your mind to it, and I was able to do that.
What are the biggest changes in just the everyday life of a professional softball player compared to maybe the everyday life of a college softball player? Do you see yourself having to kind of train on your own more and not as much team structure, and more of a, like, this is your job, you have to take care of that kind of stuff?
So definitely it's not as, for college softball, we had 20-hour weeks. We had however many hours for weights a week and practices a week. It's not like that here. We definitely are on our own. We need to make sure we're getting what we need individually for fitness wise. So making sure we're staying to a structured fitness routine. Practices, we're still practicing every day. We still have an off day. And then our schedule runs from Thursday to Sundays. I mean, you realize that this is truly your job now. And that's so exciting because like I am being paid, I am contracted as my job now to be a professional softball player. And that's awesome. But it's more so like, you're an adult and now you're also playing professionally. So you're on your own and you're taking care of yourself and what you need as an athlete.
Another thing I want to ask you, because you're in Austin, Texas now, you were in Ursuline, Youngstown, both close to home, like you said before, not close to home anymore. What's that been like to live on your own across the country?
Well, honestly, I will say that my dad probably still calls me 20 times a day. So we don't skip a beat on that. I'm still very close to family. Um, but it's different. I mean, it's 21 hours away from home. But I will say that this heat is different compared to even like a Florida heat. It's just different. And I don't think I've ever sweat like this in my life either. But I am happy that I'm finally playing in weather that I'm not freezing cold at the Youngstown State Stadium where, my hands are frozen. But living across the country is definitely an adjustment. But I definitely think it's important for if anyone has the opportunity, whether it's school or, whatever it may be, a work job. Um, it's cool. It's definitely gonna grow myself as a person. So I'm here for it.
One of the things I want to ask before we go, now that you've gone through your college career, you're a professional, is there anything that after you were done with college that you look back and you say, I wish I knew this back when I started or when I stepped on campus? Like, I wish I knew that then that you know now?
Oh God, yeah. I would say this, my last season at Youngstown, I think mentally I struggled a lot because I put my season on a pedestal and I overthought every move I make. And I never got to the point where I could just play loose, like when I first came into Youngstown and when I was at Ursuline. And I would tell any athlete that every season is just a new season to be yourself and perform. Like whatever is meant to happen is already written and it's already going to happen. So stressing about it is only going to hurt you at the end. I would definitely just play loose and just be yourself, take it day by day. Because you're never going to get the time back. And I would rather spend my time having fun and maybe making a few mistakes than stressing about making mistakes.
Sarah, one of the things we do when we interview athletes, no matter what level they're playing on, professional, little league, high school, we always want to give them the chance to take the spotlight off themselves for a minute and shine it on the people that are in their support system, the people that are in their corner, gotten them to where they are. So I want to give you the time to give shout outs to those people and the people that you know that you wouldn't be where you are without.
That's really awesome. I obviously, first and foremost, I want to thank Alex Powers and the coaching staff at Texas Monarchs for giving me the opportunity. Seriously, this is a little girl's dream, and I'm getting to live that, and that's super exciting, and I'm forever grateful. I'm thankful for my dad. Him, like I said, always taking me to all those travel ball tournaments, making it possible for me to even play professionally, and believing in me and being like, Sarah, if you set your mind to it, somehow you're gonna do it, and I've done it thus far and it's been great. So I appreciate him for believing in me. The rest of my family, Brian Campbell and Sarah Zillis, my coaches at Youngstown, I really appreciate them making me into the player that I've needed to be or I wanted to be at Ursuline. Just making sure that I'm making adjustments quickly and I'm not hard on myself, but I just hold myself to a standard where I just need to succeed. And lastly, I definitely want to thank one of my teammates, Conchetta Ronaldi from Youngstown. Great catcher. She was defensive player of the year, or co-defensive player of the year. One of the best teammates that I've had. Very supportive through a lot. And, I definitely have her in my corner as someone that supports me throughout. So definitely her as a teammate.
Sarah, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. We appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck the rest of this WPF season and everything you do in the future. Hopefully, you're playing softball for a little bit longer.
Yes, that's the plan.
And we wish you the best of luck and all that. We love you here at Youngstown, and we thank you again for your time. We'll see you again real soon.
Yeah, thanks so much.
That was Sarah Fessler, former YSU Penguin, now current professional softball player with the Texas Monarchs. Catch them on the WPF YouTube page. They play Thursdays through Sundays for the next couple weeks. I think they're past the halfway point in their season, and then they'll have the Championships Cup playoffs as well. And what a great conversation that was with someone that kept raising the bar. And I liked what she talked about putting herself in uncomfortable situations and growing from it. Going from high school, okay, I got college, I'm in Ursuline, but I want to play at a bigger level, Youngstown State, and then okay, but I want to go more. I want more, and taking the step to go do a tryout for the WPF, and then landing that, and then moving herself to Austin, Texas, to be a part of this WPF season that there were a lot of question marks about it. The WPF this year looks a lot different than the WPF last year. And so there were a lot of things that swirling around the offseason. We didn't know if the WPF would still have a season this year. They banded together. They got one up. They've gotten a lot of great people in great situations. And to be able to come through with that, and what a great conversation that was with Sarah. We appreciate it. We thank her for her time. We thank all of you for tuning into today's episode of Running Point for your time. We will be back here tomorrow. Scotty Mincher joins the fray like he does every Wednesday. Always fun with Scotty on the mic, and we'll have some fun with him tomorrow on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. 1 to 2 as always. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you all